Hello everyone, this is General Hand Grenade. Welcome to my war room in Prince George, British Columbia. Well, I'm back from Toronto. Had a great time at the Grasshopper Invitational. I just thought I'd give you a better look at these things. This is what I got, what Sire Blood and I got for being second place in the Enthusiasts division. So you had this name tag here, and you could take that to the restaurant and they'd give you 10% off. And this is the actual award here, this one. These are dog tags, right? And then it's got finalist on the other side. It's got the historical board gaming. It's got Grasshopper's avatar there. And of course the Canadian Maple Leaf. And on the other side, it just, that's the pass in order to get in. Like this one's the pass and this one is the prize right here. So you put them together, you put them on a chain, and you've got yourself a set of dog tags. Anyway, I learned a bunch of new strategies, or at least moves anyway, and I had some things that I was keeping under my hat too before I went away on to the tournament. It wasn't that I didn't think that like this particular strategy here, Dark Skies, I was pretty sure that most people knew what Dark Skies was all about, but just on the off chance that somebody didn't know it, I wasn't going to give my opponents a heads up. So we did play the Allies twice. That means we had to play against the Axis twice, and both times the Axis used some form of Dark Skies against us. And you know, like if you read the forums and stuff, there will be people on there that tell you need to buy exactly this many bombers on the first turn and exactly this many. Don't listen to that. That's just a bunch of bullshit. Like what you need to do is have a philosophy. The philosophy is you need to buy a shit ton of bombers. You know, like that's all it is. Play the game that's in front of you. That's something that I always advocate is play the game that's in front of you. You might need something else. You might need a destroyer. You know, like maybe the UK bought nothing but submarines or something. I don't know. Like play the game that's in front of you. But just if you want to be successful as a German player, I think you need to incorporate some degree of Dark Skies in it, and so just have a philosophy of trying to buy at least one bomber every turn, maybe two. Next thing you know, like 6-7 turns in, you've got 10-12 bombers, and that's believe me, that's virtually unstoppable. I've been using it to great success, and we had it used to great success against us. In the finals, we lost 7-0. So and variance had a bunch of bombers, and we couldn't get too close to Germany, or else with the Navy or anything. Or else we were done. And we were lucky enough that we were able to put pressure on him in other places that he couldn't just buy bombers, and plus we had some lucky rolls too, and took out a bunch of his bombers a few times. We did have a moderate degree of success, but not enough to win the game, that's for sure. Especially with Japan dominating on the Pacific side like they did. So and then in the first game against the Cliffside Commandos, they had a lot of bombers too, and we were lucky to get out of that game with a 2-2 tie. Like we just tied it up on the last play of the game, but we couldn't even get close to Berlin with this. So I thought that the way that I could demonstrate this to you the best would be to take all of the units off the board except for the bombers. You see, I've put some bombers on there. I put 3 stacks of bombers on there. And I don't know that you'll have 3 stacks of bombers. You could get away with just 1 stack if you want. I wanted to show you where you could put them for the most part. Like they can land anywhere and take off from anywhere, of course. But I wanted to show you, okay, so you've got your air base on Western Germany here, and you've got your air base on France. You're going to take that on the first turn. So where you see these kind of roundels here, the regular German roundels, those are all the places that you can hit from those 2 air bases. And you take a look around. I mean, you look at even C-Zone 91 down there. C-Zone 91 is a pivotal space on the Europe side of the board. But you can hit all of these spaces from there. And it's not just that you're rolling, a couple of 3s against them. Like you're rolling a stack of 4s. And I didn't even put the roundels. I ran out of roundels. I had to use these ones over here, the World War One roundels. I didn't even put any roundels on Germany because that was obvious that you were going to be able to reach anywhere in the German territory there. Um, so that's just from those two places there. You can take out any navy that's coming in if you have a big enough stack of bombers. And of course, it's even better if you can throw a couple of subs and a destroyer or something or any type of German navy in there to soak up the hits. Something that is cheaper than a bomber, right? And also, of course, if you can use fighters or tactical bombers, they can go in there too, but their range isn't quite as strong, of course. But the reason it's called dark skies is for two reasons. I mean, one of them is you look at the color of the bombers and they're dark, right? They're the darkest units on the board as the German units. And also because the theory is you put so many of them in the skies, you blot out the sun over Europe and the Mediterranean and the Atlantic over here. So, the skies become dark after that. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so that's where you are if you just from those two air bases that you can reach. You can reach over here into Russia and everything. And then I put a third base over air base over here. Like you're going to start moving in on Russia. Probably. I mean, if you go for sea line and it doesn't work out so well, then you might not make much headroom into Russia there. But in most often you will though. So I put the air base here on eastern Poland, and of course you're going to have some stuff around there, right? You're going to be pushing into Russia first, and so then eventually you could put this air base down here. Well, then you see these other type of roundels, the World War One roundels. That's where you've extended your range to. And that's being able to fly there and fly back again because you can go 7 spaces with those. And then you could go even further than that. Although when you get back in here, there's usually not much over here, right? I mean, these territories are only worth one, and the Russian player, he's going to be wanting to stack Russia, right? But the bombers are great though because, like I said, they roll at 4. But the other thing is, they're good for strategic bombing raids. So with a stack of bombers like this, you could wipe out somebody's money no problem. And it's nice to bring in fighter escorts, but even if you don't, you take in 8 bombers, are they really going to want to go up against you with say 4 fighters? Here, I want to go down to the other side of the table here, so I'm just going to set this down for a second. But yeah, like I've been using this strategy for a little while now, and it's tough to defend against because the bombers, they support everything, right? They support the ground attacks. So like you're making a ground attack over here, you're going to be making lots of ground attacks over on the Eastern Front there. And the bombers are even from way over here, they're going to be able to help you. So a lot of times you're going to be taking your opponent out in the first round of combat because you're using a stack of bombers. And then also, like I mentioned the Navy over here, American Navy come over, but then there's also this Navy here. You can help Italy control the Mediterranean down here. And I put these roundels down upside down here, these two here in the water. And also these roundels, I used a different one. And the reason I did that is because you can't hit those from an air base up there unless you give yourself a legal landing space. So if you're giving yourself a legal landing space, you can hit everything along here as well. All you need to do is, with the Italians or the Germans, like if you have Tobruk here, for instance, so you're up here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you could attack this base over here, 6, 7, if you have Alexandria, like if the Italians or you have Alexandria before that turn begins, or you could attack Egypt if you have Tobruk, and so on and so forth. Like all you need to do is think ahead of time. Okay, I want to attack, like say Morocco. The Americans have made a landing in Morocco, or they've left 2 bombers down there undefended or something like that. So the Italians, they see that and they try to give the Germans a legal landing space. So the Germans will count that up and they go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so they need to be 3 spaces away, 5, 6, 7. So they could get there. Like that's no problem. This should actually be this kind of roundel, but as you get further away, it gets a little bit harder, right? But you see what I mean, though. You just need to count them up and to get yourself a legal landing space. And then those bombers can support any kind of attack. They can attack the water, they can attack the land. They're just you can just use them to devastating effect. And here, let me show you what I mean by that. How good a stack of bombers is. Okay, so this is Sire Blood's hit dice. This is what, 2, 4, 6, 8. This is 10 bombers. So after 5 or 6 turns, if you've been buying everything, not just bombers, you could buy 10 bombers in the first 3 or 4 turns or something, but you'll have nothing else. So just a random roll here. 2, 4, 6. That's not a very good roll, but still, you got 6 hits on the first shot, right? So you're taking out a lot of stuff. Roll again. Let's see what we got here. 2, 4, 6. Another 6. Like it's hard to miss when you've got a huge stack of bombers. You know how you get diced and you roll 10 dice and you don't get any hits? That's virtually impossible to do when you're rolling bombers. Like that's the worst roll I've seen in a long time. 5. Just 5 there. That's not very good at all. But you just, as you keep rolling, like just before I turned the camera on, I set this up, I rolled them and I had 8 hits. There's 2, 4, 6 more. So, it's not unheard of to get 8 or 9 hits when you're rolling bombers like that, when you're rolling 10 bombers. And when you're taking guys out on the first turn, I see, you're thinking, oh, there's a Navy over there, a big American Navy. But if you can use bombers and a stack of bombers and a few other things maybe against them, then you can take even them out on the first hit. So they're gonna nail you a few times, but you're gonna wipe them out. Virtually wipe them out. You might have to go at them a second time or whatever, but think of how long it's going to take them to buy another stack of or another Navy to threaten the Europe side of the board again, to threaten Europe. So and if you're trying to defend that, the best that I can suggest to you is that you just you try to present more than one target. Like we tried not to group our stuff too much, and that was working pretty good. You don't put all of your eggs into one basket, put it that way. You didn't put your whole Air Force, the whole British Air Force in one spot, or group all your boats in one spot, or, unless you could just isolate the bombers, because that wasn't such a bad thing too, was eating into their stack of bombers. If you had a Navy and you didn't want to lose it, but you knew that you were going to have to lose it if you were going to get rid of that stock of bombers, then there you go. You could throw it out there. But yeah, you had to try to do like 2 or 3 things at once. Try to get them to break down that stack of bombers so that 4 of them went one way and 4 of them went another way and a couple of them went over here. Try to isolate them so that they weren't as effective, or so that they were landing. Because when they land, they're only 1 on defense, right? So they're vulnerable on defense. So that's the only thing you can really try to do against them, is present many targets, keep all your eggs out of the same basket, and try to hit them as much as you could on defense, which is difficult because a good German player, and if it's you and you're playing it right, then you're going to do whatever it takes to defend that stack of bombers. Like I was talking about extending your range and landing them down here. You don't want to land, 10 bombers here on Morocco when there's an American Navy over there, because that's 10 bombers going down the drain on defense. If they're only rolling at 1. Rolling at 1 and rolling at 4 is 14 different things. Believe me, it's not nearly as effective. But anyway, that's the dark skies strategy. Let me just pan out a bit. See, you look at all those roundos on there, and I don't know how well you can see them, but it's just you're like, that's a huge portion of the Europe side of the board, and that's just from 3 air bases that Germany has. That's if they were down here in Africa, if they landed down here, well then of course they could go. The range just gets extended even more. So that's the dark sky strategy. So you can see why I didn't want to do a video on that one before we went. Although, like I said at the beginning, it was not a secret. I mean, most people do like to buy a lot of bombers as Germany. But again, I got to stress the fact that you got to play the game that's in front of you. Don't just say, well, I need to buy 7 bombers in the first turn or second turn or whatever. Just buy what you can afford, but buy at least 1 every turn. they will do you well. You know, whether you're assaulting London, you know, like that they work really well in that, or whether you're strategic bombing either Russia or London, you know, like they're really going to serve you well. Anyway, not much more to say about that. Oh, there is one more thing I want to add. You can see this one here. This one doesn't have a flight stand, but I have a friend in Toronto. He goes by the name of War Torn. If you've seen all the video footage that I took, because I can't, I did so many videos and stuff, I don't remember which video it's on, but I interviewed him, and he displayed his new flight stands, and I love them. I absolutely love his flight stands. I can't wait to get some. He's sending me some, like he's got an order put in for, geez, what was it, 6,000 of them or something like that. Anyway, he's going to send me a handful of them. I was helping out with him and with Grasshopper. He's part of Grasshopper's team. They were calling me and asking me about, you know, what does a flight stand need to be like how tall does it need to be and things like that. One thing that I insisted on was that it had a metal bottom. Like these flight stands I love these flight stands, but you know, you just can't get them. And I love them because they are metal on the bottom, and so that they stand up, they don't fall over easy. And I can stick them to my carriers. And if you've seen my videos, you've seen how I like to put my planes on carriers on the flight stands. And so his, even though the stem is not metal, it's clear, which I can't wait to see when it's all set up, because I think it's going to be where it's almost invisible, where it honestly looks like the plane is flying above the board. But anyway, the metal flight stand is something that I absolutely insisted on, just for that stability and for the magnetism. So anyway, just stay tuned to my channel. I hope to have these things within the next couple of weeks. They're going to be a lot cheaper than the Field Marshal Game flight stands that I've been using. And I think that they're even going to be better because they're going to be magnetized. And so you can actually take your planes off of those flight stands and then reconnect them again when you want to use them. So that's going to be great. I can't wait for War Torn to send me that stuff. Anyway, that's my video today. Dark skies over Europe by Germany. Take care, everyone. General Hand Grenade out.